Hey, this is Jacob. I'm going to read Job 1 for you this morning and just share what's going on in the Word today. Job 1. In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys, and had large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all the people of the East. I think that's funny here is we tend to give notice to all the thousands of sheep and thousands of camels and hundreds of oxen, and we don't give notice to the 7 sons and 3 daughters. Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And that's noted first here in verse 2, and then God reveals and talks about all the things that Job had. Just to take note on that. Like in today's day and age, we tend to look at what people drive and how much money they make and the house they live and their business and career, at least here stateside, instead of maybe the fact that they have 2 children. We don't take note of that in this culture. I'm sure it's different in other cultures. But here in verse 4, going on, his sons used to take turns holding feasts in their homes, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When a period of feasting had run its course, Job would send and have them purified. Early in the morning, he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, "Perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." This was Job's regular custom. When I talk about doing something that's regular and custom, that's praying to God on behalf of your family and your kids and your brothers and sisters and your relatives and neighbors and praying for people. It's the heart of Job, and that is clearly seen here in chapter 1. This is the kind of man Job was. And then we jump into the second section of chapter 1. One day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. I don't know how he did that. Maybe he tagged along. Who knows? The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming through the earth and going back and forth in it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." We don't know why God brought up the name Job and why he presented Job in front of Satan's nose, but he did. Maybe to distract him from other things. I don't know what God's purpose was. But nevertheless, it happened, and we're reading about it. Does Job, Satan here is talking, verse 9, "Does Job fear God for nothing?" Satan replied. "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." The Lord said to Satan, "Very well, then everything he has is in your hands, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." Satan is up for the game. Satan would gladly mess with one of God's kids, and he does so at the will of God, at the allowance of God. Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. One day when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabeans attacked and carried them off. But the servants to the sword put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, "The fire of God fell from the sky and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept on your camels and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, yet another, this is the fourth, messenger came and said, Your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the four corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they were dead. And they are dead, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. Notice here how quickly Satan is allowed to attack. On all sides, Satan goes right to work in four different messengers, four different realms, and boom, it all happens instantly. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see happen as soon as the rapture of the church happens, when God extracts the salt of the earth, the preservative of the earth, and extracts them away from this world into a holy and safe and sacred place. You'll see Satan go quickly to work and fill the gaps in destruction and take his place. But here's one example of that in Scripture, and we see that in Revelation as well. But that's what I think will happen from this story here in Job. Verse 20, Job is going on. At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, all this bad stuff happened, and Job started worshiping. Man, where's our heart when something goes wrong? I don't respond like this, like Job. God's got to do a work in me. Fell to the ground in worship and said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. That is chapter 1. It's a great start to what most people believe to be one of the oldest books of the Bible. That's Job. And we will continue into chapter 2. I hope you follow along. Thanks for watching and listening.